Whenever it goes, let's go to leaders.
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi everyone, I'm Wayne Bishop. I'm the band director at Council Rock North. Obviously, these are the Council Rock North band leadership members. They are, the vast majority of them are senior leaders of the group, and we've got a few underclassmen here who have joined us to help round that out a little bit. And we'd like to play for you a little bit from our competition show. This is the first movement of our show, which this year is entitled The Coven, where we have a little bit of a battle between our color guard, which is a coven of witches as we are presenting them, and the band, which is the proverbial townspeople in that story as well. So this is the first movement of the coven. We are in the middle of our competition season right now. We had our first competition at South last, or about here, over a couple blocks, hosted by Council Rock South and John Burns and everybody over there, and that was really fantastic. And we're continuing this weekend at William Tennant, and we will continue through November and end the second week of November in Hershey at Cavalcade Band Championships then. So hopefully we can see you at a football game or at one of our competitions at some point. And we hope you enjoy a little bit of the coven.
Absolutely. You all make us so proud. Congratulations. Great job. Thanks, Mr. Bishop.
All right. Have a good night, folks.
Madam Secretary, can I have a roll call, please?
Denise Brooks. Here. Mark Violet.
Here.
Joe Hidalgo.
Here.
Kristen Marcel.
Here.
Uriah McKee.
Here.
Ed Tate.
Present.
Michael Ford.
Here.
Mr. Block.
Here.
And Mr. Bruck.
Mr. Grupp is traveling on business in Europe. I can assure you he's watching intently. He is. Hi, Jerry. So we'll move to the Council Rock High School South Student Advisory Board. Mr. Raddick, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. My pleasure to introduce Council Rock South's Student Advisory Board for the school year 2018-19. A big welcome back to our representatives from last year, Brianna, Nick, Andrew. Andrew was unable to join us tonight. Warm welcome to our 9th grade representative, Katie, as well as our new MBIT representative, Olivia. I'd like to thank the students in advance for their time and dedication, and at this time, take it away.
Hello, my name is Olivia Gaudette, and I'm a junior at Council Rock High School South. I am also a second-year student in the cosmetology program at Middlebucks Institute of Technology. The current things happening at Tech are October is Safety Awareness Month, and the public safety students will be working throughout the community with local fire departments to educate the public about fire safety. The adult evening program has begun, and the classes provide instruction in current technologies, opportunity for a new career, update skills, or earn industry certifications. Middlebucks seniors have completed their NOCD pre-testing, and Bucks County Community College has begun. This semester, students are taking the Introduction to Small Business, which is offered on-site at Middlebucks. The students in the Automotive and Collision Repair programs visited Maple Glen Raceway on September 14th. They got an inside look at all that is involved with maintaining racing cars. The students in the cosmetology program attended the Premier Hair Show in Philadelphia on September 24th. The students were able to attend on classes with haircutting techniques alongside professional stylists. A fall plant sale hosted by the Horticulture, Landscape, and Design students is underway and features a large selection of moms. Finally, Aspirations, our student-operated restaurant, and Salon Extreme, our student-operated salon, will be open to the public in mid-October. I look forward to reporting to you at the December school board meeting. Thank you for the time and opportunity to keep you informed about what is happening at Middlebucks Institute of Technology.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Burke and I'm the 9th grade representative for CR South Student Advisory Board. And it's an honor to be here with all of you today reporting South's upcoming events. First, mark your calendars for November 15th and 16th at 7 p.m. and November 17th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. The curtain rises in South's auditorium for the fall musical Footloose. South's Golden Wings Theater Company involves more than 80 students and teachers dedicated to producing outstanding performances for the Council Rock community. Whether it's applying makeup, setting the stage, building sets, planning choreography, or performing on stage, all students play an integral role in the musical's success. We hope to see you there. In addition to the play, South Spirit Week is quickly approaching, kicking off on Monday, October 22nd, with themes including Way Back Wednesday, Pajama Day, and Blue, White, and Gold Day. Late in the week, each grade shows their ultimate school spirit at Blue, White, and Gold Night on October 25th in South's gym. Students volunteer for sporting events and dance battles, accumulating points for their respective grade levels. So this year, I'm hoping that the freshmen run, although I hear that never happens. On Friday the 26th, the last day of Spirit Week, students packed the stands of Walt Snyder Stadium wearing white to prepare for South's rival football game with CR North. So go South. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Milvor, and I'm now the 11th grade representative for the Council Rock South Student Advisory Board. It is great to see everyone here again tonight as we begin the 2018-2019 school year. And I will be presenting you tonight the upcoming Winter Ball Dance, our campus beautification, and a sports update. Winter Ball will be held on Saturday, November 10th from 6:30 to 10 at Council Rock South. Many people will be dressing up nice for that night. And our Winter Ball Council has been setting up well for the upcoming dance. Over the summer, our campus beautification has had many changes. The weight room has been redone. We added signage around the campus. We have new carpets at every entrance, and our outdoor tennis and basketball courts were refurnished. Our sports update. Football is 5-3 and tied for first in the SOL National Conference, and we'll be playing the Shawnee tomorrow night. Field hockey is 9-6-2 and clinched the playoff spot for district playoffs. Golf this year has been co-champions with Pennsbury with an 11-1 record. Two golfers made it to the district tournament, Matt Fleming and John Pinchotti. Matt Fleming also qualified for a regional tournament and has advanced to the PIAA State Golf Championship next week in York, PA. Best of luck to Matt. Girls soccer won tonight against CR North, which improves the record to 12-4-1 and has clinched the playoff spot. Boys soccer is playing tonight at 7 o'clock against North at Walt Snyder Stadium. Girls volleyball is 15-5 and earned a District 1 playoff berth with 2 games remaining in the season. Men's and women's cross country both had undefeated dual meet seasons. Both teams will compete in the league championships at Lehigh University tomorrow. In girls tennis, Alexia and Nash made it to the semis in the solo finals in the SOL conference, and I was also qualified for a District 1 singles tournament. Her and Haley Goldberg won the SOL National Conference in doubles. Haley and Alexia will participate in the District 1 Girls Doubles Tennis Tournament at Legacy Tennis Center in York, PA next week. Thank you for your time tonight. Sorry for the speech, not prepared well, but and see you in December.
Good job.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bree Kirk, and it is finally my turn to be the senior representative for Council Rock South Student Advisory Board. And as a senior, I went into this year, naturally, with a countdown until Disney in my head. So we have 166 short days until the class of 2019 will embark on their most magical journey of high school. Following a brief meeting last week, which discussed our itinerary and featured the new Volcano Bay, seniors are more excited than ever. In other news, Fall Festival will be held this Saturday at 11 a.m. in front of South. Different booths set up by clubs and language honor societies will feature a variety of culturally diverse foods and other goods. There will be tons of raffles, and cheerleaders will be selling whiteout shirts for the big game against North, so everyone should try to stop by. Finally, this Saturday, October 20th, the Golden Hawks Marching Band will be competing in the U.S. Bands Competition at Central Bucks South. They have put countless hours into this year's routine and are thrilled to be coming into the competition season as reigning state and national champions. The band will have a chance to defend their title at the national championships in just 2 weeks. We wish them the best of luck. Thank you all so much for your time this evening, and I look forward to reporting to you again in December.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Raddick. I can assure you we're keeping a close eye on that soccer game right now.
Absolutely. Bree mentioned that she has a countdown to the senior trip in April. I actually have a countdown till when Bree sings at the end of the year. We'll see how that goes.
I won't give details, but I have a plan.
Already have a
Because
plan.
I can't sing.
Hence why I have a countdown. Thank you.
Great job, South.
Good luck this year. Dr. Fraser, may we have superintendent's report, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Block. Good evening, members of the board, and good evening, members of our community. I have a series of announcements this evening, and then we will finish up the superintendent's report with a couple presentations. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who attended the redistricting forum that we held on October 1st, and also those folks who completed the online survey. I can tell you that some compelling feedback certainly has been offered and received by us, and the redistricting committee is looking forward together to processing that feedback this coming Tuesday when we meet again. So thank you for your time, thank you for your efforts, and most importantly, thank you for your valuable feedback. That process continues. Next, Senate Bill 1095. This is a bill that pertains to the Keystone exams, pertinent mainly at the high school level, as a standalone graduation requirement. This bill has now passed the House. It has also passed the Senate, and it's awaiting the governor's signature, and the governor has indicated that he will be signing it. What it does is it provides multiple pathways to a high school diploma, as opposed to the Keystone exams operating as a standalone graduation requirement, which has historically been the case. So this change technically takes effect beginning with the class of 2022. So those are our current freshmen, our current 9th grade students. Important to note, and some of the press that I've seen out there has been erroneous on this point, our students, our sophomores, our juniors, potentially even seniors, do still need to take Keystone exams over these next couple years. That's actually a federal requirement, so there's no state bill or state law that could supersede that. But from an accountability standpoint, A, it's been loosened up, which is a very good thing. As public educators, we welcome this change. And B, it does not kick in until the class of 2022. So I know through Susan O'Grady, we have some additional information that has been and will be communicated on that topic that right now is pertinent mostly to our high school families. In terms of our alumni survey, that survey will be open just for a couple more days. Mr. Sanko, I believe that closes this Saturday, right? So we to date have had about 3,000 completed surveys, which we are very happy about. And I would tell you that there's nothing more that we would like in these remaining couple days than to see a flurry to the finish. So we certainly appreciate those 3,000 alums for completing the survey and again giving us valuable feedback. And we do have another push out to our alums via our database, and we hope that that more will still come in. Next, in regards to our PACE survey, the PACE survey, that's the Pennsylvania Youth Survey. We will be presenting that information, the data from that survey, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. in Newtown Middle School. The Pennsylvania Youth Survey addresses drug and alcohol use, vaping, mental health issues, and other risky factors affecting our youth. This will be the first time as a school district that we are publicly presenting this data. We think it's important to present this data, and we think it's important because we all sort of own these issues, and we all need to solve these issues together. So some of it is a reflection of school, some of it might be a reflection of home or in the community. All Bucks County school districts took this survey this year. Virtually every school district in the state of Pennsylvania took that survey. It was actually last school year that the survey was taken, but we got the results this fall. So we are looking forward to presenting that data and that information and having a conversation about those critical issues. So again, that's this coming Tuesday, October 23rd, 7 p.m. at Newtown Middle School. We would love to see you there. And as winter rapidly approaches, I will let you know, and I believe we posted this on our website as of today, that we have developed a 3-hour delay schedule. So we're all accustomed to and used to a 2-hour delay, and a 2-hour delay certainly will still be our norm. But over the past 3 years that I've been here as superintendent, I know that we've had some cases where we probably could have gotten a school day in if we just had a little bit of extra time, if we had that extra hour. So thanks to Mr. Desko for leading that work along with Mr. Sanko with the principals in developing a 3-hour delay schedule. Hopefully we don't need to use it very often, but if we are able to use it and get a day of school in instead of having yet 1 or 2 more days in the heat in June, we will take advantage of that. From a school safety and security standpoint, you may have seen the news that we have recently been awarded a $20,000 grant for what's called ALICE training. ALICE is an alternative to the traditional lockdown approach. We just last week had 50 individuals go through training who would then turn around and train our faculty and staff. These 50 individuals who were trained last week include central office personnel, personnel from each of our 14 buildings, as well as law enforcement from each of our 4 police departments. So very much a team approach, and over the next 2 to 3 months, our entire faculty and staff will be trained in ALICE, which is a good thing. So more information to come as we continue to experience that transition. And also recently, in fact, just last Friday, we applied for a $25,000 grant to equip us to better barricade and lock our classroom doors. In the event that we would have an intruder in our schools, the $25,000 would go towards special locks that would help to keep an intruder out of the classroom, where typically our teachers and our students would be. So we are very optimistic that we will receive that grant funding, and that coupled with some of our school district dollars will allow us in very short order to make sure that every single classroom door in the Council Rock School District is equipped with a special lock, which is an important upgrade for us to make. And the last piece from a safety and security standpoint is that also last Friday, we applied for a $115,000 grant for enhanced mental health services for our students. I'm of the opinion, I know many of us are of the opinion, that when we talk about school safety, when we talk about school security, yes, there's some importance placed on hardening the schools and that sort of thing, and we are doing those things, taking those measures, but we cannot ignore mental health. Mental health is more of an issue, it's more prevalent, it's more of a predicament than ever before, especially with our teenagers. So we have got to understand that, we've got to be responsive to that, and so we have indeed, as a school district, written a grant with those thoughts very much in mind, and we will keep the community informed as we hear back from the state on those 2 grant proposals. So with that said, we do have 2 special presentations this evening. I see some of our esteemed high school students in the back. It is wonderful to see all of you. In representing Council Rock High School South, Mr. Raddick, I'll invite you back up to the podium to honor and recognize our National Merit Scholars from Council Rock High School South.
Thank you again. In the past few years, South has achieved a steady increase in National Merit Scholars. These students represent the top performers in the National Merit Qualifying Test, which is the PSAT. Commended students represent the top 50,000 scores from among 1.5 million test takers nationwide. Semifinalists represent the top 16,000 test takers. National Merit semifinalists go on to compete for over $35 million worth of eligible scholarship monies. This year, South has 16 National Merit Scholars, 9 commended, and 7 semifinalists. We extend a hearty congratulations to these fine students and their families. First, I would like to present our commended students in alphabetical order. Laura Floyd. Victoria Grebman. Christopher Geyer. Cynthia Mathai. Alan Prohoroff, not able to be with us tonight. Harrison Schwartz. Kellen Shao. Kellen's also unable to be with us tonight. Ryan Tong. Catherine Treese. Now it gives me great pleasure to call forward our National Merit semifinalists. Bria DeSaro. Una Donnelly. Una was unable to join us tonight. Jennifer Guo. Zeke Hertz. Max Kroll. Nathan Pesakovich. And finally, Andrew Tillery.
All right, it's photo time. Scooch in.
Ready? And one more. And now let the parents do their thing. We weren't supposed to be doing it earlier.
Keep doing it. And congratulations, everyone. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you again for that. Congratulations to those South students and congratulations to the parents and family members as well. So I promised you 2 presentations. The other one is on the subject of comprehensive planning. We are honored this evening to have Ms. Joanne Ferrati here from the Bucks County Intermediate Unit. Comprehensive planning is a process that we go through every 3 years. We develop a 3-year plan. You can think about it pretty much as a strategic plan. That's how we think of it. And Ms. Ferrati is good enough to come in here like she does for many, many districts and help us lead this process.
Great, thank you very much,
So we'll talk about
Dr.
process and
Fraser.
timeline tonight.
Thanks
Thanks for being here.
I was worried that because we were going to be talking about comprehensive planning, everyone left. But I'm honored to be here tonight. Thank you, Dr. Fraser. Good evening, board members. On behalf of the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, I serve as the Director of Strategic Services, which means I do work with all the school districts in Bucks County to help them develop their comprehensive plan every 3 years, in addition to going outside of Bucks County for the Bucks County IU. So I'd like to direct your attention to the PowerPoint. To tonight give you that 30,000-foot overview of the process that we're going to be using and utilizing this year. So as we develop the comprehensive plan, there's two ways to look at developing the plan. It is a requirement by the Department of Education that every 3 years, a school district in Pennsylvania develop a comprehensive plan. That being said, my work through the IU with your district is to make sure you're compliant with the requirements that the Department of Education presents to you. In addition, the part that I get very excited about as being the external facilitator is for you to look at the way the direction of the school district will be going in the next 3 years. So when you look at this slide, as in the development of a comprehensive strategic plan, you're a really great district. You want to stay that way, and you want to look at ways in which you can get even better than you are. The first piece when we develop a comprehensive plan is to reflect back on the mission of your school district. Now, I'm not sure every morning when you wake up and you walk into your bathroom and you look in the mirror, do you recite the Council Rock mission statement? But as we develop that plan, I think it's very important to reflect back on that mission statement. So the Council Rock School District, in partnership with its community, empowers all students with the knowledge, habits, and attitudes to become lifelong learners and to lead and serve in a diverse global society. Success for every student every day. So as we develop this comprehensive plan, we need to reflect back on that mission and make sure our goals, strategies, and action plans reflect that mission. And so it's a very powerful mission statement. It's not a generic mission statement. It is the Council Rock School District. So as we work this year on the comprehensive plan, we'll make sure that those goals and strategies reflect your mission. The comprehensive plan requirements from the Department of Education look at who are we as a Council Rock School District. So we need to look at our mission. We need to look at our beliefs, our values. We need to look at that educational community. And then the other piece of the comprehensive plan is not for just your superintendent to sit down and work on the plan, but to involve the school board members, to involve the staff, to involve the parents, to involve the community, to involve all the stakeholders that we actually have some part with the Council Rock School District. So that's one of the requirements that I'll show you in a few minutes with our timeline going forward. The other part of the requirement is for your district to look at how do we do the things that we do, those core foundations. So we look at standards, curriculum, instruction, assessment. We look at those safe and supportive schools here in the district. We look at those material and resources that we use. We look at professional education for all your staff in the district, and we also look at special education. So they're the required pieces that we must do for the Department of Education. So as we do this process, we think back on and we reflect on what are those dreams and visions and ideas that we have for Council Rock. And then we want to turn them into a strategic, comprehensive plan with actions. So as we reflect on this plan, all of us have those dreams and visions and ideas that we know that we can make this district even better than it is today. So we want to reflect on where we have been, where we are right now, and now where do we want to go in the future. It's important to celebrate those accomplishments like we did tonight with the opening, with your musicians, with your finalists, with the merit scholars. So that's important to really celebrate what we do well. But now we want to look at where do we want to go in the next 3 years. So presently we have a current comprehensive plan that I had the opportunity to work with the district a few years ago on. And so it's important to think where we have been. So we had a goal focus area of teaching and learning. We looked at the professional learning community. We looked at using data more effectively. We looked at assessment, and we looked at curriculum mapping. We'll still reflect back on that as we develop the current comprehensive plan going forward. Our second goal area was building relationships. So we looked at relationships within the district with our staff and students. We looked at relationships between the district and the community, and we looked at communication overall. So again, we'll look at what have we accomplished, what do we need to continue to do. And then the third area was technology, and looking at technology as it impacts instruction within the classroom. We looked at bring your own device, and we looked at the infrastructure with technology in our schools here in Council Rock. So again, we're going to look at what did we accomplish in the past couple of years, what's still important, and what do we need to continue going forward. So I point my attention for you to look at the timeline. The requirement for the Department of Education is that Council Rock must submit their comprehensive plan by November 30th of 2019. So if you look at the timeline, I've already started work with your superintendent and the leadership team back in the summer, having different processes with your superintendent and the leadership team. I'm here this evening to give the public and your board an overview of the process. We have surveys out right now that will be using that data to help us going forward with the plan. From now till February, we'll be collecting the data, doing work in the web tool. In between that time, as a component of the component of the comprehensive plan is the special education plan. And Mr. Lambert and Dr. Lambert and his team will be hard at work the next couple months doing that process of the special ed plan. They'll have it completed in February. In March, it'll be on public display for the public to review. It'll come to you as school board members in April to be approved, and then it must be sent to the Department of Education by May 1st, and that's the special ed plan. Continuing on as a requirement, we must bring stakeholders together from the community, and we'll do that in the spring. We'll also continue to develop our action plans. We'll have the plan inputted into the web tool for the Department of Education. And as I worked with your superintendent and his leadership team, even though the plan does not have to be submitted till November of next year, your superintendent and leadership team would like that to be completed by the summer so we can thoughtfully implement that plan starting in next school year, which would be 1920. So when I work with a school district, the main thing is to make the main thing the main thing. And so we don't want to have 1,000 million goals and strategies and action plans that we can never accomplish. But what we would rather do is thoughtfully think about what are those focus areas, what are those goals that we want to do to improve the district to make it even better than it is today. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to come here this evening to kind of give you that 30,000-foot view. We will be working with the board and the community. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions for Ms. Parati or myself? Or we are certainly looking forward to this process. When I look back at the plan that was approved 3 years ago, we've made substantial progress. There are several truths that we're able to say today that we could not say 3 years ago. And now the question before us as we see continuous improvement is, what do we want to be able to say 3 years from now that we can't say today? And so we will strategically plan around those items, chart the path forward, and roll our sleeves up and get after it for the next 3 years. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time in the district.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fraser. Thank you, board. Good evening.
All right, Mr. Block, that ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. We'll go to Mr. Cox for the solicitor's report, please.
There was an executive session, Mr. Block, as you know, prior to tonight's meeting on potential construction litigation. That's all I have.
Thank you. We're going to move to our first session of public comment. Given redistricting has been a topic of late, my sense is that we'll have some extended comment. I will be raising my hand at 3 minutes. We want to keep you to 3 minutes tonight, as close as you can to respect the number of people who might want to. Additionally, to respect the agenda we have, I'm going to keep the first session of public comment to 30 minutes, as noted on the agenda, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll take as much as anybody would like to provide. So I'll go off the list that I have here, and then after that, we ask you to line up. So when you come to the podium, state your name and where you're from. We'll start with Tally Bishop.
Hi, I'm Tally Bishop. I'm Holland Elementary is my youngest. My middle child is at Holland Middle School, and my oldest is at South High School. As a parent with 3 children and 1 in each school, I can thoroughly appreciate and understand the redistricting process is something that we have to do. South is overcrowded. The middle school is completely overcrowded. I also live at the Hills at Northampton, so I'm considered the island. And what I'm going to ask of the board is to, excuse me, I'm very nervous. Is to just ask that when you're considering balancing the numbers, that's what the main focus is, and trying to minimize the impact of families necessary to accomplish that. I understand the word contiguous is used when redistricting and recreating the map and making it look as though the school is attached to the land of where the families live. Holland Elementary and the other school that we're looking at changing to is so close to one another. If I was told that my son switching schools would have an impact in balancing the numbers in terms of what our goal is, I would completely understand that. Flip-flopping students just for the sake of a map and with zero explanation as to why that's really necessary is something that I'm really struggling with. So, impacting almost 50% of Holland Elementary School unnecessarily and does not balance out the middle school and the high school is just something that I really want everybody to take into consideration when voting. When I asked my son for advice on what to say, when I told him I was going to be talking to all the people who make the decision, he said, just tell everybody that he doesn't really want to lose any of his friends. When he was a baby, he was coming in my arms to that school. And I don't want to make this a sappy story. I know this isn't what it's about. It's more about facts and numbers and, the real reason as to why we are redistricting. But the truth of the matter is he's been a part of the school for his entire life. And when they had their ceremony, ribbon cutting ceremony, he was invited along with one of the oldest people alive who has attended that school. He still believes that he is a rock star for being chosen. And it would really just, unnecessarily break hearts and disrupt so many children's lives unnecessarily. Again, I keep saying that word. I don't understand why we're being moved when it's really, if you want to balance out, if the Hillcrest has so many kids, just take the number out that you need to take out. Holland Elementary will be welcoming them. I will be welcoming anybody who is, new to our school, however I can. And thank you for hearing me out. Thanks.
Bishop. Andy Schwartz.
Good evening. I have a daughter in 6th grade.
Sorry, ma'am, where are you from?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm from 45 Shelley Road, Holland.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Daughter in Hillcrest Elementary in 6th grade. Recently, she was involved in an unfair bias selection process for student council. The definition of student council is a group of students elected by their peers. There was no peer voting done at Hillcrest. One of the components in the selection process was last year's 5th grade teacher rating. I was told by the advisors that they heavily weighted this rating. My daughter received a 98% from her 5th grade teacher, yet that wasn't good enough. My daughter ended up in a 15-way tie. The advisors then decided that the sixth grade teachers would break the tie by rating on leadership, approachable, respectful, responsible, and hardworking. So after less than 13 days of school, the sixth grade teachers rated these students and filled the remaining spots. Please keep in mind that in these 13 days, there was the first day of school, 2 half days due to heat, and no routine established with all of the holidays off in September. Throughout this whole ordeal of trying to find out what the selection process looked like, I have endured comments such as, "Mrs. Schwartz, Harvard only has 20 spots and not all kids get in." I was also told that due to my daughter's age, her maturity level explained why she was having such a hard time with this rejection. And lastly, I was told maybe my daughter would sob a little less tonight. These statements were cold and cruel. I wasn't talking about Harvard. I was simply asking why students didn't vote when clearly the definition of student council is a group of students elected by their peers. Not only did I endure the comments, but many emails went days without responses, and some were never responded to at all. It took the 2 advisors and the principal a full week to be able to tell me my daughter's scores and the exact process that took place. Even with the full week, their stories changed twice. It took over 2 weeks to get a sit-down face-to-face meeting. I just feel like the amount of time and effort I've put into this matter is just mind-boggling. Hillcrest's selection process did not follow the definition of student council, yet I stand here today because the advisors and principal stand behind their process. Now my daughter asks me questions like, what more did I need to do? Why wasn't I chosen? And how do I become a teacher's favorite? These are the questions 11-year-olds are asking themselves thanks to this process. They wonder why 98% isn't good enough and why they weren't chosen by their teachers whose classes they now have to sit in for the remaining 167 days of school. Andy Sanko is the only person who has truly listened and showed empathy for my daughter and our situation. He agreed that the system was flawed. Thank you, Andy. I think you are a true leader who doesn't sweep issues under the rug. Instead, you listen and evaluate and admit if a process is flawed. You are a true leader and role model for your colleagues. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Eric Wilson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Eric Wilson. I have 2 daughters in Holland Elementary, so I'm from Holland. Good to see you, Mr. Sanko. Just a bit about myself. I am from central Pennsylvania. I grew up about 30 miles from State College, so obviously I went to Penn State, and it was amazing to me that I met so many people from Council Rock School District that I'm still friends with. I had no idea. I'd never stepped foot in Bucks County before I moved down to this area, and I didn't have any idea that my kids were going to be at Council Rock. Up until about 4 years ago, my family was over in Pennsbury School District, and we decided to move this way because we wanted to be part of Council Rock. So really, it's an interesting part to be taking part in this. It was cool to see the fanfare and all of that. But now we find ourselves, you know, in this little situation. You know, Tally took all my points. Good job. But I'm also from the island, you know, and we all know what that means, right? It's the arbitrary borderline that says we have to be plucked out. And so the question that I have really is, what does that mean and why? You know, my girls are happy at Holland Elementary. Yes, Hillcrest is across the street, but there are kids that go past my neighborhood to go to Hillcrest. My kids go past Hillcrest to go to Holland. It is what it is. It's an extra mile probably. The question I have, or really in my head, the priority is education is number one, right? We want to do what's best for our kids in the classroom. I am incredibly excited about the teachers that my kids have had at Holland Elementary. The second priority I see is that we want to minimize disruption. And I think that actually goes to number one, right? If we can minimize disruption, we can maximize the experience in the classroom. And again, it just is I think in all of our collective consciousness, we say, well, we're going to be moving some kids from here to there and other kids from there to here. And we go, well, I don't understand that, because that goes against sort of one of my priorities, which is minimizing disruption and trying again then to maximize the education experience for our children. So I know that this has been going on a long time. I know it's difficult conversations that you all have to be a part of. I applaud you for going through this effort. I wouldn't want to be sitting in your shoes. I know people are going to be disappointed regardless of what the decision is. That's the facts, right? I think all our kids are strong enough to make it through. I think the community is strong enough. I just want to make sure that there are good reasons for these changes. And I want to make sure that those reasons are aimed, we just heard about mission statements, are aimed towards priorities that make sense. So I appreciate the time. I just ask that we relook at what the arbitrary nature of the island is. You know, why is that something that has to be changed? And think about that crisscross and why that needs to happen. So thank you very much for your time and good luck.
Thank you. Alexis Cohen.
Hi, Alexis Cohen. I have 2 kids at Holland Elementary also. I won't repeat all the same points. My kids aren't going to be moved. We are walkers. There's no question we will stay at Holland Elementary. So I'm not here because I'm upset that my kids are going to be moved. But we don't have full-day kindergarten in Council Rock. And we had the option of keeping them where they were for preschool at the point of kindergarten. And we decided that the bonds that they make in kindergarten to be with the kids that they're going to be with through high school were important enough for us to switch them and figure it out. So relationships are everything to our kids. That's their whole world. And these are children, not numbers. And swapping kids from one school to another that doesn't end up changing the bottom line doesn't make sense to me. You're talking about 40% of our school being replaced. I'm sure the kids will be okay in the end, but it seems unnecessary. And how do you have a continuity of community when many of those students have parents on the PTO? They're the ones that show up and do everything. And, you know, we're a small school. So now you're trying to get buy-in from parents that are going to be there for a year, maybe 2, and don't want to be there. I think that it really will affect our community. So I really want you to weigh in on all of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Greenberg.
Good evening. My name is Kate Greenberg. I also have 2 children at Holland Elementary and here to talk about the redistricting. Similar to Eric and Tally, I live in the Holland Island. So wanted to just express some of my concerns and ask some questions that I have about the swapping of Hillcrest students with Holland Elementary students. As you are aware, Holland Elementary is the 3rd most impacted school in this current redistricting plan. The proposal has 77 kids from Holland Elementary swapping with children from Hillcrest Elementary. As Alexis mentioned, that's about 40% of Holland Elementary that would be leaving the school and taking in new children. I was really hopeful at the October 1st meeting that the demographer would have a really compelling reason as to why islands are not efficient and a good reason why to move them. Unfortunately, I was disappointed. I was really hoping that he could sell me hard on why it was a good option. But the reality is when you have 2 schools that are less than 2 miles apart, an island is not nearly as significant as if schools were 15 miles apart and you had children traveling a distance. I haven't been able to track down or see any efficiencies around transportation or tax savings by removing the island and swapping kids unnecessarily. When I look at the current redistricting map, there was obviously 2 islands, one in the Newtown north feeding schools and then one in the south with Holland. The Newtown Island is being accommodated, I guess, rather than eliminated by adding the Crown Point neighborhood to make it a contiguous area feeding into Goodnoe Elementary. Something similar to that could happen in the Holland neighborhood, where we know there's issues with capacity at Hillcrest. We could keep majority of kids where they are, maximize the educational experience, and minimize disruption by moving some children out of Holland at Hillcrest Elementary into Holland to lessen the capacity issues at Hillcrest. Again, as I mentioned, Holland and Hillcrest are less than 2 miles apart. They're not centrally located to one specific neighborhood. So by eliminating the island, you're not really solving anything other than disrupting a lot of children by doing this swap of neighborhoods. I think just in closing, it would be to re-emphasize re-looking at where children are going, what schools they're feeding into when you have 2 neighborhoods that are directly across the street from each other. And just because there was a directive to remove the island, that we wind up swapping neighborhoods and impacting 237 kids overall. That could be significantly reduced by just leaving majority of the kids where they are and taking some kids out of Hillcrest and putting them in Holland to reduce the capacity. The goal here should be to maximize the educational experience from all of the children and minimize the disruption. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. I don't agree. Thank you. Next will be Nicole Williams. And behind Ms. Williams, Zach Williams. Oh, you're gonna come together? Cool.
We'd like to go together if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
I'm Nicole, and he's
We'll give you 6 minutes with some flexibility.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm the parent of a current 3rd and 6th grade student at Richboro Elementary that are proposed to move into the north feeder pattern. Though unhappy, I do understand the mathematical reasoning for the decision to balance the north and south. It must be stated, though, that the small group of 6th graders at Richboro are the only ones who will not be given appropriate time to acclimate to a new community before transitioning to middle school. In looking at the recently released October 2018 enrollment data, many mathematical trends are apparent. 1, the 2017 data for the affected Richboro 6th graders has now dropped to only 30 students due to the movement of 4 outside of school boundaries. This means that each student now has only 29 familiar faces out of well over 400 for social support. 2, the north sending elementary schools will move 119, 125, and 170 6th graders to Newtown Middle next year. The south sending schools will move 6 smaller groups of 40 to 101 over to Holland. These masses of north students have dozens upon dozens of members of their social and emotional network. Our 30 Richboro students are being set up for failure against these large numbers at a critical stage of development.
The district's list capacity for grades 7 to 8 is as a maximum of 140 per team. With 3 teams for each grade in both schools, there's a maximum of 420 students in 7th and 8th grades for each middle school. Without the 30 students, the current 6th grader set to enter Holland is 430 and Newtown is 414. No matter which middle school we go to, the 7th grade class will be over capacity. The current 8th grade class at Holland Middle has 495 students. If the Richboro 6th graders are grandfathered, the total school population will still decrease by 35 students. Holland will have more space even if we stay in the current feeder pattern.
In addition, the Schrader Group designed both middle school projects and conducted a district-wide facility study in 2013 and 15 that states the middle school capacity is based on a homeroom calculation. This means that the district's goal for students to be at 90% within regular ed classrooms, while all other rooms are not in use. Rooms like art, music, gym, special ed, foreign language, tech ed, family and consumer science, and computers. If our 36 graders are grandfathered into Holland, there are obviously many large areas of space for those 30 students. That same capacity study also states, so in the case of the middle schools, the 90% capacity recognizes that it is almost mathematically impossible to schedule the exact quantity of students to match the district-wide maximum classroom occupancy. Even back in 2013 and 15, when the middle school projects were approved, it was known that the 90% capacity goal would not be possible. Given this data, The logical decision would be to grandfather the sixth graders from Richboro that are proposed to change feeder patterns. The numbers do not support moving such a small number of children into a new community without a year or more to transition. Please do not split the elementary feeder pattern for our sixth graders. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And thank you, Zach, for sharing your perspective. I know it's tough to get up there in front of everybody. You did a great job, buddy. Well done.
If I could, just one point of clarification there, and many, many compelling points were made, and thank you. Thank you both for that. Our middle schools are based on a total of 7 teams. That's true for both Newtown Middle as well as Holland Middle. It's a little bit confusing because you have this odd number with only 2 grades. So you have 3 straight 7th grade teams, 3 8th grade teams, and then you have a hybrid team. So it's actually 3.5 teams. So the total capacity in our middle schools is 980 students. So I just want to make sure that everyone's clear on that particular point. But again, many, many compelling points made here tonight. And as I mentioned earlier, that's been the case dating back to October 1st and even before October 1st. So very much appreciated.
Nancy Carroll.
Nancy Carroll, Newtown Borough, comes here tonight apologizing. I have no notes and I have no dates, but today is a very important anniversary, October 18th. And with it comes a story of service to your community and to your country. So in the 1900s, at the end of one school year, there was a fire in this building, the back part of this building. The janitor was putting papers in and a fire started. Nobody was hurt, but the school burned down. And this community had no school for 2 years. The students were taught in a warehouse and at the Temperance House and different places around the school for 2 years. And the community debated what it should be. And the president of the school board was a Dr. Smith. And Dr. Smith said that they should double the size of the school. And of course, many of the taxpayers said, no, we don't want to double the size of the school. But in the end, they decided to build this beautiful room that we're in and the classrooms above it. And they actually doubled the size of the school because the 1936 edition wasn't even built yet. It was just the rooms in the back in here. And in the Historic Association, there's many letters from Dr. Smith, from the community, about how the school should go forward. Just as you're deciding how you're going to go forward for the next 3 years, how should they go forward then? So they opened the school. I think this building was opened in 1914. I'm not sure. But World War I broke out, and Dr. Smith's only son was killed on October 18th, 100 years ago. And they couldn't find his body for many, many years. And Dr. Smith wrote letters to the Department of the Army that could they please find his body and send him back. And eventually they did. And the community met a train at Trenton, and there was a big parade, and they buried him at Newtown Cemetery. And his name was Morrell Smith, and the American Legion Post is named after him. So he died less than 2 weeks at the end of the World War I, which was November 11th. And soon we'll be celebrating that as Veterans Day. And we have our World War II veterans are here. The ones that died during World War II are in a little thing at the end of the hallway. And that's a tremendous story in itself, because when World War II was announced, a lot of guys raised their hands and just went off. And what I'm asking the school district, and we have the other ones over at the high school, would we please insert the story of Morrell Smith into the curriculum where it's appropriate? Whenever the kids study World War I would like them to know of this tremendous service. He was the only person from Newtown who died, and and of his father, who was instrumental in building the school district. Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Okay, fantastic. So we'll move to the first item.
Lock, if I may.
Yeah,
just, and I don't want to, be redundant with this, but, for the parents who came out this evening to talk specifically about redistricting, I do want you to know that you're being heard. You were heard on October 1st. You're heard tonight. The survey results, Dr. Elliott and Mr. Desko have been chairing the committee, co-chairing the committee. They've read through all of them. I've read through all of them. The redistricting committee is coming back together this coming Tuesday. I think it was said here this evening that, no matter what you do, some people aren't going to be happy, and that's true, unfortunately, as much as that makes me unhappy. That's an absolute truth. But know that we are listening, know that we care. Many of the points that you've made do resonate with us. And internally, we've already started to take potential looks at moves that could be made. And we're taking those thoughts, those ideas, those considerations on Tuesday evening to our broader committee. So again, it's not going to be something that satisfies everyone, but do I think that the final result is going to be the same map that was put out on October 1st? I don't know for sure, but I would say probably not. Probably there's going to be an adjustment here or an adjustment there. And again, I think that you all, and as well as the people watching at home who aren't here this evening, just the totality of the comments that have been made, including tonight's, certainly are not lost on us. So please know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser, for those sentiments and taking the time to represent your entire administration. The committee feel that they do the hard work. To item G, Mr. Tate. If I could get a motion.
Let me catch up. No, it's the minutes.
It's the minutes.
The minutes. I move to approve the minutes of the September 20, 2018 board meeting as posted.
Second.
Comments, questions? Hearing no objections, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passing with unanimous consent. We could move to the Academic Standards Committee. Ms. McKee.
Thank you. Academic Standards Committee met on September 27th. We received an excellent presentation from Dr. Elliott on PDE, ESA, and the Future Ready PA Index. ESA, which stands for Every Student Succeeds Act. This is a new school accountability system and a public report card that will be implemented this year. We received an overview of both of these plans along with possible implications for Council Rock and action steps for Council Rock. And if I may, I'd like to note two changes under these plans, which I found to be significant. First, a single focus on standardized test scores will be replaced with multiple measures to track student achievement. And secondly, the state will now measure student achievement at the building level as opposed to the district level. The next meeting of academic standards will be on Thursday, October 25th. And if there are no questions, then I'd like to go on to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items B and C as contained in the agenda.
Second. Dr. Thorwart. Questions or objections? Hearing none, ask the secretary to note the motion passing with unanimous consent, and we'll move to our Bucks County IU number 22 representative, Ms. Brooks.
So on October 1st, the IU had organized a Bucks IU Day on the Hill, where all the superintendents of the Bucks County schools with IU representatives were invited to a day in Harrisburg. Unfortunately, because of the conflict with our redistricting meeting, Dr. Fraser was not able to participate, but many of the other school superintendents were there. They were able to meet with Governor Wolf, PA Secretary, Education Secretary Rivera, and a lot of the other state representatives and legislators. So that day is really viewed as a huge success. It's the first time that the IU coordinated an effort for Bucks County representatives to talk about education issues. And when you look at the education issues across the state, our area, the Philadelphia, five-county Philadelphia area, is a very different, has a very different needs than many other parts of Pennsylvania. So having this opportunity to meet with important government officials is just a good thing, and the IU intends to convene those kinds of meetings with some regularity. Hopefully, there won't be a conflict, certainly with redistricting, hopefully nothing else too. The IU met this week, and we had a report on some of their early childhood education programs. And it was just interesting. I just wanted to share, we probably know what the IU does, but they gave some numbers. And I learned this week that the IU screens over 4,000 students between the ages of 3 and 5 in the county every year. 4,000 just between those ages. And those evaluations are used to determine if a child qualifies for special ed services. And those services are provided to families at no cost. So early intervention helps, and the IU is just it does an extraordinary job in working with pediatricians, preschools, daycare centers to identify students. In a couple of weeks, on Thursday, November 1st, the IU is hosting their 19th annual Secondary Transition Options and Resource Fair. This is a fair open to all families with students with special needs. It's open to all families, but it used to have this primary target of 18 to 21-year-olds because it helped talk about post-school life for students, career opportunities, job placement, and things. But they now realize the importance of involving families at a younger age. So now everyone is welcome. So if younger families wanted to see what was going on, they can certainly see it. But there is specifically a target to students that are aged 14 to 21. There are going to be over 40 organizations, academic institutions, agencies, vendors there to share information. So if anyone in the community would like to go, it's hosted at the IU, and there's no fee to attend, but they are asking people to RSVP so that they have the proper accommodations to handle the families that are coming. Every IU meeting, we spend a lot of time talking about legislation. Dr. Fraser talked about the one that we, as a IU board, talked about the most this week, which was Senate Bill 1095, which eliminates the Keystone exams as a graduation requirement, applauded across the county. But there are two other bills on the governor's desk that are waiting for signature that I thought everybody here would be interested in knowing. One is House Bill 1386, and this has implications for Christine and the hiring in the future, because it's going to provide greater flexibility in instructional certification and expanding the grade spans of teacher instructional certificates. So from the way it sounded, it sort of sounds like we're moving back towards a wider range of bands for teacher certifications that existed previously, and eliminating what we've had recently, which confines these bands to shorter grade levels and makes it harder to hire teachers. And so given the shortage of teachers in the system and the difficulty we have in finding certain teachers, this is considered something that's very helpful. And they gave an example, and they said that the measure provides all special education certificates issued after December 31st, 2021 would cover teachers from pre-K through grade 12 or up to age 21 with no additional educational content required. And so teachers that are currently holding special ed certificates that are pre-K to 8 or 7 to 12 would have an opportunity to expand the scope of their certificates under a process that is yet to be determined. But this is several years out. But I think in addressing certain issues that we have as school districts hiring teachers, this is going to potentially be a move that could help ease some of the shortages in some of our more difficult to fill areas. One of the other bills that's sitting on the governor's desk is Senate Bill 107, which amends the open meetings law to extend permission for executive sessions to municipalities and local governments. School districts recently got that ability so that we can talk in executive session about safety concerns, but that did not carry through to local entities, so that will be important. So because it's election season, there's no more House and Senate have gone home. They're not meeting anymore until after Election Day. But I just wanted to talk about two things that I thought were interesting that will come up in the next session. One is Senate Bill 521, which, and actually these two bills that I'm about to tell you, they've been approved in the Senate, so they are moving to the House. So it's not like they're in their early phases, they're moving along. But Senate Bill 521 would require PDE to develop a curriculum and guidelines for CPR instruction for high school students. So that would be interesting. And in sort of tagging along to what Dr. Fraser had mentioned earlier about mental health and how that applies to school safety, Senate Bill 1181 would require that mandated student health exams. So the ones that school districts say, at certain grade levels, you have to have a physical. They want to mandate that those health exams include depression screening, beginning with students in grade 6. And it would require medical professionals to report back to the school that the screening had taken place, not necessarily telling them what the results are. So you sort of to check the box that the screening took place, though parents could opt out of having that as a screening at that health exam. So as a result, of course, districts would be required to revise the procedures about how they would respond to certain screenings, to keep track of this data. Anyway, it's probably far from getting passed, but I just thought it was important to note that these are the kinds of things that they're looking at, and it speaks to just the sign of the times of what we have to worry about in our students. So.
Ms. Brooks, Mr. Byler, Council Rock Education Foundation liaison report.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to talk about upcoming events. The first one, I think everybody knows what the Council Rock Education Foundation is at this point. You can look up the upcoming events at the CRHSfoundation.org. There's a lot going on in October 23rd from 7 to 9 at Newtown Middle School. There's a Raising Great Kids community speaker series that's entitled Candy Flavored Addiction. So it's focusing on vaping and e-cigarettes, which is we see all over. Every time I'm walking through town or whatever, you see kids with these things. And here are some facts. Teens who vape are 3 times more likely to have cancer-causing chemicals in their system, 2 times more likely to start smoking traditional cigarettes, at risk for nicotine addiction, mood disorders, impulse control, attention and learning issues, etc. So the Melanie Swanson and the Council of Southeastern Pennsylvania will be speaking. There's also, or is Melanie from the Council of Southeastern Pennsylvania? Might be from. That's a great organization. I served on that board for some time. And then we're also going to hear the youth survey, the PAYS youth survey results at that event. So you get a chance to visit the new middle school and hear some great things. In addition to that, the Newtown Business and Professional Association will be sponsoring a breakfast here on October 25th at 7:30 a.m. In November, Team Rock versus the Harlem Wizards is going to be at the Council Rock High School South. And my favorite event of the year, the Council Rock Raise a Glass All Rock Reunion, is November 23rd, at the Green Parrot in Newtown. I think everybody knows where the Green Parrot is, right? From 6 to 8 p.m. So typically that's the Friday after Thanksgiving, and I'm sure it is here too. It's really a lot of fun. Our first event, we had over 100 people there, and it's just it's nice to see groups connect, just like we did at the middle school. What do we call that? Not dedication. Before we tore it down, the middle school tour. You saw these older classes come together. It's always nice to see. So that's all I have for the Council Rock Education Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Byler. Yeah, Ms. Marcel will provide her first report on middle class student technology.
Thank you. Last week, we met and there was an enrollment report by Kathy Strauss to talk about some of the trends that they're seeing as of October 1st. And largely the numbers are very consistent with what Mr. Bialik spoke about in the last meeting, that things are trending up, especially for Council Rock, which is a good sign. I also was able to receive a tour by Kathy, which I appreciated. It's a wonderful facility, and I really enjoyed a chance to see it firsthand, and I hope to go back in the future. I did want to mention that there is an open house on November 29th. Obviously, it's a little bit far out, but I wanted to make sure that people had it on their calendar. It's an open house for MBIT. 6 and 7:30 p.m. would be when there are information sessions for students and parents. And then there's a community open house from 7 to 9 p.m. So I just want to make sure that was on people's radar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marcel. We'll move to the policy committee. Mr. Tate, please.
Thank you, Mr. Block. Policy Committee met last week. We worked on a number of HR-related policies. As you may recall, Pennsylvania School Boards Association has recommended telescoping some HR policies that had different categories having different policies, and they're being combined. So next month when we act on them, we will have not only some revisions to consider, but policies to retire. So I thought that's good news. The next policy committee meeting is November 19th.
Mr. Tate, we'll move to the finance committee. Back to Mr. Violet.
Okay, thank you. So we had a busy meeting last week. October 11th is when we met. You can refer to the details on the YouTube channel. We had an investment update from our investment advisor, Cornerstone Financial Consultants. You have a discussion item, or I'm sorry, an item on the consent agenda with regarding Cornerstone, and I'd like to talk about it for a second if I can. So Cornerstone came to us 2 or 3 years ago. Was it, how long has it been, Bob? Has it been 2 years? Third year. They had first suggested in their request for proposal a fee of $50,000 to help us manage over. At the time, it was about 140 million. I'm going to say off the top of my head, 140 million dollars. Does that sound right? Yeah. So, and there was another group of individuals that came in at 35 million, and we asked Cornerstone if they would adjust their fee to be considered, and they did, and they came down to 25,000 with the agreement that if we were happy with the services they did, we could revisit the fee after a period of time, and that period of time has come. So we heard a great presentation from Cornerstone. In a previous conversation, I asked them to give us an idea of what value they bring to the district, and Mr. Reiner's going to speak to that right now, it looks like.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people know that market conditions for interest rates were very, very different when they came on board. We were talking about 25 basis points to 50 basis points of earnings, and today we're talking more about 2.5% or something like that. If you want to look at our budget before was we made earnings, investment earnings, we were looking in our general fund of about $300,000. Excuse me. Today, we're talking about almost $2 million. So if you look at the expansion, because of the market rates and also the value added that they brought in to be able to evaluate different relationships and get us more money, in combination, we're talking about a whole different world today than it was back then. And when you see the level of services and the level of professionalism involved in this, you'd understand that there was definitely a lost leader for them to provide everything that they do for us. So I would support this wholeheartedly that we increase it to $50,000.
Yeah, and if I could just say that the entire idea was to give more protection, and I hesitate to say safety, but more protection, and I'll say it, safety to the district in their investments, in that it was really being done by Bob and his group, making the decisions with the board. The board, of course, approves it, with a fiduciary organization like Cornerstone. It helps offset some of the responsibility, and we have, just like we accept legal advice, we have financial advice from these folks. And I can't put my finger on it, but I think here it is. The value add dollar-wise, not so much the safety part of it, and that's important, but the dollar add is somewhere between $350,000 and $500,000 per year for the district, and I think that warrants a $50,000 fee. They've done a very good job. They've been very responsive, and I think it's made the finance department's or the business department's job a lot easier. So we look forward to approving that tonight with your support. Bob talked about a lot of information at the last meeting. In addition to that, we discussed an operations update. So results of operations, he talked about budget variances, distribution of the ending fund balance, and there was discussion about Amazon for purchasing. So everybody uses Amazon. Everybody's probably got the app on the phone. We just want to make it better and easier here in the district. You want to talk about that briefly?
Yes. If you looked at the statistics, you'd see how much more Amazon is being used within the district for miscellaneous purchases and things such as that. And I will tell you, it's a momentum that's not going to stop. More people go there because when you're not sure who has something, Amazon's the company that does that. Actually, Mrs. Heverly and I met with a Amazon representative, and we found that there is a relationship with school districts where they have been awarded a contract with the U.S. communities, which we can piggyback on, that allows us to get exclusive pricing of over 10 million different items, which is much broader than anything you'd usually see, and let us set up a more streamlined business relationship with them. We are still going to continue to watch what is being purchased there, and things that we bid, we want to make sure we continue to bid and watch that. But this is another way of handling our purchasing, and it makes it stronger than just going to Amazon and expecting things to be in good shape or the best way to procure. So I will just tell you that that'll be coming. Rob and I have actually had a discussion tonight about it. I've sent him some information that we're reviewing, and I'm making contact with one person. So you'll see that in the coming months for the approval.
Great. Thank you. So with that, I move to approve the consent items B through G as contained in this agenda.
Second.
Ms. Brooks. Any questions or objections? Hearing no objections, I ask the secretary to note the motion passing with unanimous consent. Mr. Black, want to keep going?
Sure. Moving on, I move to engage Fox Rothschild LLP to provide labor and related negotiation services for the negotiation of a successor agreement to the collective bargaining agreement between Council Rock School District and Council Rock Education Support Personnel Association in accordance with the engagement letter attached to this agenda. It's a long motion.
Second. Second from Dr. Thorwart. Dr. Fraser, I think you want to say a few words about this.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So last year, the board successfully negotiated a contract with CREA, our professional association, via the leadership of Mr. Mark Fitzgerald from Fox Rothschild. Administratively, we were very pleased with the work of Mr. Fitzgerald. The sense that I have is that the board was as well. So this year, our CRESPA contract, which is our support professional association, their 4-year contract expires on June 30th, 2019. So we will be in short order entering into negotiations with CRESPA and their representation. And the motion before you this evening is to have Mark Fitzgerald once again represent the board in these upcoming negotiations.
No.
Any questions? Any objections? Hearing no objections, I ask the secretary to note the motion passing with unanimous consent.
Further, I move to approve the EDRPP assignments and payments and the EDRPP coordinator assignments and payments as contained in the attachments to this agenda.
I'll second that too. Second from Dr. Thorwart again. Any questions from Ms. Taylor? Objections? Hearing no objections, ask the secretary to note the motion passes as well with no, or with unanimous consent. Mr. Bio, can I ask you to put J and K together, please?
Certainly. Further, I move to approve the personnel actions as contained in the attachment to this agenda. For that's J, and for K, I move to approve the personnel actions addendum as contained to the attachments in this agenda.
Second. Ms. Brooks. Get a little bit closer here. Questions or objections? Hearing no objections, I ask the secretary to note the motion passes with unanimous consent.
And Mr. Block, if I may, I'll just make one quick notation now that that has passed. And I'll be quick because we'll spend a little bit more time on this perhaps at the December board meeting. But this is very personal for me in that my administrative assistant, Marie Sides, has announced her retirement effective the middle of January. And that was part of this motion that the board just passed. So it's very bittersweet for me. And I will ask Ms. Sides to hopefully join us for a little recognition at the board meeting in December. So thank you.
Thank you. Good for her. Dr. Thorwart, Facilities Committee, please.
All right, we met earlier this month. The big talking point at this facilities meeting was the capital improvements plan review. As we all know, the district has a plan, a multi-year capital improvement plan. It's organic. It changes every year. We get it presented to us by Mr. Taylor once a year. And from that, we choose projects for summer work and summer improvement projects. So we were all given a very large binder, a very detailed binder at the last meeting. Mr. Taylor, do you want to comment at all on your, I didn't think so, you spoke at length, but give you the floor if you want it. We also, I'll do the, I'll just go down to the list. We did talk about enhanced commissioning services for Rolling Hills. As part of the construction project, these are LEED certified projects, so we need to not only commission our HVAC, but we have to do enhanced commissioning to get our LEED certifications, so we'll see a motion for that tonight. Materials bids for a couple of tractors for our maintenance department. These are an ongoing cycle. We go through them fairly quickly. They last what they last, but we need to keep up with them. It's going to be close to winter, so our standard salt and de-icing bids are in there. And then lastly, the board kind of gave direction for a $3.7 million summer project allowance or budget for this year. And you'll see a motion for that as well. So with that, I'll start with the consent agenda stuff, and we'll move from there. I move to approve Facilities Committee items B and C as contained in this agenda.
Second.
Mr. Taylor. Any questions? Objections? Hearing no objections, as secretary report, the motion is passing with unanimous consent. Should keep going.
All right. I further move to approve the agreement between the Council Rock School District and the Stonehouse Group at a cost not to exceed $69,370 for the basic and enhanced commissioning services for the Rolling Hills Elementary School renovations and addition project, subject to audit.
Second.
You skip one?
Nope.
No. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing no objections, I ask the secretary to record the vote. The motion is passing with unanimous consent.
And I've got one more. Good? Okay. I move to award salt and de-icing materials bid number 18-68 to Chemical Equipment Labs Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $17,117.60, and East Coast Salt Distributors Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $2,567.60 for a grand total not to exceed cost of $19,685.20, subject to audit.
Thank you. For the dog go. Thank you. Any questions or objections?
That's our usual salt bid for the year. So hopefully we won't need any more than that.
Yeah, I'll second that. You got any discussion? The secretary for the motion is passing with unanimous consent. With that, we'll move to our second session of public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, is there any new business from the board?
Where are we doing board comment? I have a quick format.
That's it. Okay. Is there any new business? Any old business? We'll move to board comment and then adjourn. So,
okay. Very quick. So quickly, you're going to see Rotarians out and about in the elementary school. So what does that mean? Every year, the Newtown Rotary Club and other Rotary clubs throughout, well, I guess throughout the nation, deliver dictionaries to third graders. And we've been doing it in Council Rock here for many years. It's a lot of fun. The kids are a blast when we go through these real books, you know, so they don't have to look things up online, but they still do. This year, I'm being joined by some of our board members, and other Rotarians are being joined by some of our board members. So Mr. Hidalgo was out with me yesterday at Churchville Elementary. Mr. Block are you going out or are you not going to be able to make it?
I'm not sure if I'm going to make it.
Okay, Kristen's going tomorrow, right, at Wrightstown. So it's a lot of fun. We thank the Newtown Rotary and for the opportunity to do it and to get these great things to our students.
Yes, I think.
And Mary Ann, that's right.
And I owe you a commitment for one as well.
Good. It's nothing but fun. So if you can do it, make it.
Any other board comment? All right.
That's a wrap. Have a great night, everybody.
Nicely done. Absolutely.